Oh my God, I almost said weird vibes. Hi, welcome to Shit That Matters, our podcast. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So if you could just introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Isaac Rubenstein from Middle-Aged Brewing Company.
All right. And so can you give us a little history about Middle Ages?
Sure. So my parents started it 28 years ago now.
It had to be the first.
We were right with Empire, right? Within 6 months of each other. So we're the oldest still open brewery in Syracuse. And yeah, we were with one of the first 15 licensed in the state.
Holy cow! Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, back then
Syracuse.
There were a few hundred breweries nationwide, and now there's 6,000.
Yeah. Wow.
So we were with the first wave of craft beer.
Always the same spot where you are now.
Yeah,
right?
we've grown in that spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, always the same spot right there.
Yep.
So you were like a baby.
I was 5
when they.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
That's awesome.
So I have vague
Craft beer in the bottle.
I have vague memories of it. Well, actually, one of my first memories is my parents are telling me what they're going to do. And, as a kid, you have no idea, but they're telling me it's going to be like a beer factory. Mm-hmm. So I was imagining like some, like Coca-Cola plant. You'd see on how it's made or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like Laverne and Shirley, the bottles are rolling down.
Well, I imagined some like huge, massive operation.
Yeah.
Which for the time, and even now, it was a decent sized operation as far as craft beer goes. But I remember as a kid being in there, I'm like, oh, this is disappointing. This is not what I imagined.
Yeah. What was the first styles that they started doing? When
they started with Grail Ale, which is an amber ale, and then the second beer was White Knight Light, which was a light ale. Because at the time, light beers were soaring in popularity.
Yeah.
And we don't make either of them anymore.
Oh.
I was just going to ask that. Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't feel like I've heard of those.
And you don't make them because they
didn't sell, sales.
Yeah.
We ended up making. Eventually, we made our first IPA, which was Impaled Ale. Mm-hmm. Which we still make, but it's we don't sell nearly as much as we used to, but we sell most of it right out of the brewery. That was actually one of the first IPAs ever made in New York State.
Holy cow! Is that still the trend? It's an IPA. Is that what everybody's going to?
They've changed dramatically since then. Back then, it was like an East Coast IPA before New England IPAs were a thing. So back then, it was a malty beer, a light amberish in color, and then a lot of upfront bitterness with a little bit of hop flavor at the end. The best example that's probably still widely available is probably Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA.
Oh, okay.
Which contrasted the West Coast IPA, which is lighter body and more about the hop flavor. So we still make that beer. And then our best seller still today is the Syracuse Pale Ale.
Yeah, of course.
Which is an English-style pale ale, so it's not super hoppy. It's about the balance between hops and malt, so that you can.
And you're in. I mean, any bar I can think of has got Middle Ages Pale on it.
Yes, especially the ones that have.
I mean, Joe's Dive Bar.
I'm going to say a little bit more old school. Where they aren't rotating taps constantly.
Yeah.
Places that are rotating taps constantly tend to be newer styles. It's usually one keg and then a new beer.
Right.
So
you
won't see Syracuse Pale Ale as often at places like that. But we have other beers that fit that niche perfectly. So that's.
I think we have the tip red maybe on right
that
now?
would make sense.
Yeah.
You guys are good customers.
Yeah.
You know Mark Young from Beer Board?
I do. Yeah.
So I just was playing basketball with Mark. I've known Mark a long time. He's a great guy. Good basketball player for a left-handed guy, but we were talking on Saturday, and he was talking about how what Beer Board does is big on a national scale. They do all the chains. They do Tully's locally. They do Coleman's,
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Wild Wings. They do on a national scale. But he said, and it makes sense. He said, the people that have 20 handles, 15 handles, 25 handles, it's going away. People don't need that many handles anymore because it's not fiscally responsible to do that.
So we have 16 here.
That's probably too many.
Well, yeah, because at the new spot I only have 8.
Yeah, smart. They're going down.
And they're
going to
be like dedicated handles.
Yeah.
Because.
But you still got to turn. You got to have some that you can turn. But having 25 handles, you don't have enough to sell that. Even if you're getting a sixth of keg, right?
Right.
They're $100. You buy a half keg for $200. And you're paying $120 for a sixth of it,
Yeah.
And it goes bad. What do you do?
Right, especially if you have that many, you're gonna have some that sit no matter what.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
It's not smart.
it's inevitable. Yeah.
I think that's our thing is that we have 16.
That's probably too many. Wow.
Yeah, and some do, I mean, just sit. Like, if you don't know, you're always turning and you're like, let's try this new beer. And then it just sits there and you're like, well, fuck, I just wasted.
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
And you're stuck with it. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna dump it, send it back
Yeah,
half
no,
full. Like,
yeah, you can't.
Well, plus I think that people your age group are or millennials up. I don't know what you'd call yourself, but
I think millennials.
so when I go out, I'm 60. If I go out, if we go to a bar we love going to breweries. If we go, I drink whatever their sour is. That's something I seem to find a taste for is a sour. But if I go to a bar, I'm having a Mick Ultra. Guys my age drink Bud Light, Mick Ultra. We're going to go have 6, 8, 10 beers, whatever we're going to drink that night. Maybe my wife has a glass of wine. She likes to grab a draft once in a while. But that's what we drink. Millennials, I'm going to drink Mick Ultra.
I would never go to a beer and order a Mick Ultra.
Yes, but
I would never
But
fucking do that.
What you drink 3 weeks ago and what you drink 3 weeks from now are probably totally different because they change.
What
Yeah.
do you drink? What's your favorite style
It depends on the season.
right now? Because we're March.
Right now, we still have the Oktoberfest on tap. We brewed a little too much for that. That's been my go-to.
My wife likes the Oktoberfest.
That's a good style. Yeah.
I've been on a diet lately, so our seltzer I've been drinking some of.
Is that's new
Oh.
too? The seltzer.
Yeah,
that's new.
we do a seltzer we call it Holy Water. It fits with the theme.
Oh wow, I have to check that out.
yeah,
next time I'm there.
Oh, I don't think I've ever had it.
Yeah, I'll have to get you a sample.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're not trying to compete with like Truly and
Yeah.
White Claw. So
Yeah.
we didn't even try and get it authorized in Wegmans. It's just it's too. We can't compete with them.
So
And,
I drank Zima back in the day. You
Oh,
probably
wow.
don't remember Zima. I was a huge Zima guy, and then I drank the Hooch.
I don't know that.
Hooch
one.
was
I don't even
like a
know what those
lemonade
are.
kinda. Zima was the oh my god. They had a guy that in George Valenti that used to work for Like a Beverage was the guy that would go out in parades and stuff. It was like all a white suit with a white hat, and it was.
What was it?
It was like a hard soda before hard soda was
Yeah.
a thing.
Oh, okay.
I think it tasted like a wine cooler without any flavor.
Yeah, it was a little sweet though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then they started coming out with flavors in them, but they stopped making it. But probably because I didn't drink as much.
So,
then.
but you did the seltzer not to compete with that, but just to offer something
Yeah,
different?
so it gives us a non-beer option that's made by us.
Yeah.
And yeah, it gives just there are some places that like to carry a craft seltzer.
Yeah.
They're not flying off the shelves or anything, but branching out usually has it.
Yeah.
Do you serve more in like package or draft? Or do you even offer in draft?
We do it in draft at the brewery. And we've distributed a few kegs of it. But mostly in cans.
Okay.
We actually have the opposite problem of not having enough draft lines. We have 24, but
It's not enough for you.
it's not. But we're a brewery. It's
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
I mean, and we don't really want to add more. So that gives us a way to serve it that's not on draft. So we do it in cans. People also kind of expect a seltzer in a can.
In a can, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah.
drink Kevin and Rockney's at Willow Rock. They used
Yeah,
to make
the leaf, yeah.
it wasn't the greatest. Angry Garlic used to carry it.
Yeah.
It just was a lot of lime, you
Yeah.
know. So, but Kevin made a good point. I brought it up on other ones, a podcast that he was on. I'm sure you know the guys at Willow
Yeah,
Rock.
well,
great guys. If you had to take a picture of a person, if you had to look up brewer, a person that was a brewer, and you wanted to look it up in the dictionary, and there was an image to it, you
see
just
Kevin.
look at Kevin.
Yeah.
Because he's the perfect.
Yeah.
That's what people expect to see in a brewer. But he had a good line. He said, especially since post-COVID now, you have pre-COVID, post-COVID. He said post-COVID, the consumer is more conscientious. He said we have conscientious consumers now, and he said it means that they drink less because they're more conscientious of the money they spend,
Sure.
and they drink where they know they want to go. So the old days of me calling my buddies or Michelle saying, "Hey, let's go out. We're gonna go out and get hammered this weekend." I don't think that's taking place as much as it used to. People are like, "Okay, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go get 3 really good beers tonight. They might not even be the same beer, right?
Sure.
And that's what I'm going to drink. And I'm going to go to a place that I know is cool or is making a difference or doing something." So people are conscientious consumers now.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I go out less post-COVID.
Yes,
and
oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's just partly gotten the habit of it.
Yep.
You're forced to stay home for months, and it's like, oh, well,
10 o'clock at night.
why
I'm
am I
like,
going out multiple times a week when?
10
Yeah.
o'clock. I'm not going out after 10 o'clock at night. No way.
No, me either.
So
Okay, so my question is, so you were family business when
Yeah.
you were really young. Are you an only child? Do you have siblings?
I have an older sister.
Oh, okay.
She's not involved with the business, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to be
Yeah, that was
involved
a
in the
good question.
business?
So,
Did you have a choice, or was it
yeah,
like,
I had a choice. Up until even in high school, I didn't think I was going to end up.
what high school?
I went to JD.
JD, nice.
Yeah. I didn't think I was going to end up in the business. Would work like after school. I built out variety packs. Is the first thing I did. And then I went to college.
Where did you go to school?
Ithaca College.
Nice. Okay.
For what?
I went as exploratory and ended up graduating with math and philosophy.
Nice.
Okay.
Math major myself. Shout out.
Are you really?
I'm a math major with a computer and business minor. Yes.
Oh my God, I did not know
No?
that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. At one point, I thought I wanted to be a professor,
Okay.
and
You got
then
a professor vibe. I
yeah,
guess, yeah.
and then or law school crossed my mind too, and then I don't know, about my sophomore year of college, I'm like, I want to work for my parents. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I told them that, and I had a scholarship, and they were paying for the rest of it. So they're like, that's fine, but finish your degree.
Yeah.
So I did, and then I came home, and they're like, "Do you still want to work for us, or what do you want to do?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to do that." So I started in the tasting room. At the time, we couldn't even sell pints because that was a law that changed.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's right.
Unless you had a full restaurant and there was a separate license for a brew pub, but you had to have a full restaurant, like same requirements to get a liquor license as a regular
You
restaurant.
couldn't sell a pint of.
I couldn't sell a pint of my beer across the bar. I could give
Oh
free
my God.
samples, or I could sell beer to go.
Oh my God, I never knew that.
Yeah.
And that
Holy cow.
changed in
Couldn't have been too long ago because I mean.
2015,
Oh my gosh! Wow.
which is when we made plans to open up our current tap room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no, it's kind of mind blowing that it wasn't even that long ago that you couldn't do that.
And that's 8 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
Wow,
really when the second wave of like small craft breweries, at least in Syracuse,
Yeah.
started to
Yeah.
open. Was when
Well, why would they open before that? I mean,
Right.
what kind of a financial plan do you have?
It-
It would
You
be
had to-
all just distribution based.
you have to go pretty big.
Yeah.
And distribution the margins are frankly terrible.
Right.
It gets marked up by your distributor, then by the retailer
Yeah.
before it gets to the consumer.
Because you're not self-distributing, right?
No,
You're going
we
through,
yeah,
who do
we,
you go through
we go through
Onondaga?
TJ
TJ
Sheehan.
Sheehan.
Yeah.
We did self-distribute at one point, but no, we've been with Sheehan for
Who's Jeff?
Jeff Rano is our sales
Yeah,
guy,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
our sales manager.
Yeah. Danny Barnwell was a freaking great guy. Do you remember Dan?
I
when he
do
was-
remember,
Oh my
yeah.
God, what a great guy! Super good guy.
Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting people throughout the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You either had to go big, or there really wasn't a model that worked. The only one that opened before the law changed was Eastwood Brewing Company. It was called Double Barrel at the time. Pete Kirkcasser.
I don't remember where was that.
It's over in
It's
East
still
Syracuse.
open,
It's
right?
still open, yeah.
Yeah.
It's over in East Syracuse behind Cafe Kubal over there. Just
Yeah.
Small.
tiny
I don't
little
even know
place. And he opened up right before the law changed. And then
What's it called again?
Eastwood Brewing
Eastwood.
Company.
It's orange.
even
The
heard of it.
logo's orange,
Yeah.
right?
Never even heard of him. Holy cow!
I think he distributes a little bit. Like he has a couple accounts.
Yeah.
But he sells beer just out his front door, and that's
Really?
in his little place. And
Way more. A lot of those now.
yeah,
So once that, because we opened in 2015
Okay.
here. So I feel like as we were opening, all of a sudden there was just like, it was like that, like you said, that wave of like all of these new breweries, and like we were opening and all of these different like options were becoming available at the same time,
Yeah.
that it was a little bit overwhelming. But did you feel like it had an effect on you guys?
oh for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just more competition.
Yeah.
It's got positive and negative aspect. I mean, there's the whole with craft beer. It's what's the rising tides raise all ships kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Where the pie is getting bigger the more exposure people have to craft beer. And there's a quote that I always like where the craft beer drinker is unbelievably promiscuous. He always likes to cheat on his favorite beer. And that's true.
That's true. That's
Oh,
like we were
I
just saying.
like
That's pretty
that.
cool.
Yeah,
I gotta
yeah.
remember that. That's good.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's perfect for Twitter for what's it? TikTok. Yes, we do a TikTok little thing. That's perfect for that.
So it brings new people in that wouldn't have been exposed to our brand through us. They find craft beer because of another brewery
Right.
that popped up in their neighborhood, or that their friend went to or whatever, and then they're like, oh, we got to try all the other ones.
See, that's funny because we had Tim Shore from Buried Acorn and Dave Marchant from Full Bore on.
Yeah.
And they said the same thing. I said, do you, and I'll ask you the same question. Do you think there's too many breweries right now or not enough locally?
That's a tough question. I think it's going to be pretty stable at this number. It's going to become kind of like the restaurant industry,
Yeah.
where the successful ones stick around,
Yeah.
but you'll see a cycle in and out.
But the location will still be a restaurant, but it might be a new owner. But it's
Right.
we're not adding
Yeah, so you
locations.
might lose a brewery, but you'll gain another one.
They said there wasn't enough, and they said it for the same reason you just said. Tim came in full squirrel
Oh, yeah.
outfit, which he's a strange cat. I love him. He came full squirrel and was discerning at a couple points. But he said, I'm not a beer snob, right?
Yeah.
So friends of ours are kind of beer snobs. So I never used to go to a brewery because I was intimidated. Then I start going. I'm like, holy shit, I love breweries. Now we go to breweries. So if maybe somebody lives in Eastwood and there isn't a local brewer there and they don't go to breweries, but now one opens, maybe they go, they're not intimidated, they want to check it out. Now they drink beer and they go, oh my God, this is really cool. Well, Jesus, I've never been to Middle Ages. I'm not intimidated anymore. I'll go to Middle Ages. I'll go to Buried Acorn. I'll go to, someplace else. So maybe you're gaining customers.
Sure.
You know?
Again, I remember a time when we were the only game in town.
Yeah.
So we have a little bit of a different perspective than them.
Yeah.
That was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like we pretty much guaranteed draft line at any place that had any thought of craft beer.
Yeah.
And it's not like that anymore. So we've been probably affected in a negative way more than anybody else because we've been around longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
But I think we're probably pretty close to the level of, again, how far can you go without getting to a brewery? There's
Oh my God,
there's 315 right over here. We got one in the mall. We got,
Yeah.
we have probably 5 or 6 in the city Syracuse proper. There's 30 in Onondaga County.
Yeah.
I mean,
even Oswego County's getting some.
right.
Yeah. Which
I
is
believe
crazy.
the last county in New York not to have a brewery got a brewery.
Yeah. Oh my
I
gosh.
can't remember which one it was. One of, the smaller ones up north
Yeah.
or, to the west. I can't remember which one it was. Like Wayne County or something, it's, but they're everywhere now. It's,
And no, you guys you do food, but don't do food. You don't.
we don't do food. I mean, we have chips, pretzels,
Yeah,
cheese.
yeah,
and
that's
we don't do any food prep.
Yeah. New place.
New
same
place, same idea. We did build in a catering staging area, which kind of as foolproofing. We put in enough utilities that we could do a basic kitchen in the future if we want to. I could put in some convection ovens and
Right.
stuff like that if I wanted to down the road.
But you don't. That's a big. I liked 315, but I think I heard Adam was putting over there. We're going to put a kitchen in at 315.
I have not heard that.
But I think he just does it right. He just
They
sells
do
the fucking
food-
beer
and
and
food
brings a
trucks,
food
right?
truck in.
Right.
Same with Baldwinsville.
They had their own food truck for a little while too. That
Oh, really?
315.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I think they ended up giving up on it.
But why mess with it?
Yeah.
I know Heritage
Don't
Dan.
fucking do it.
Dan has challenges staffing and having that kitchen go, and he I think sometimes you'd just be better off just
Well,
having
post
food trucks.
COVID for kitchen staff is way harder.
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think people just were like, "Fuck
What's
this! I
the
don't
one
want
in Beeville?
to do that." anymore.
WT.
WT. They always have a food truck.
Yeah.
They don't do food.
But
inside.
so I like with your new space that there's a catering kitchen because it does make it way easier for caterer or a staging area
Yeah.
for them to come in and feel prepared to do an event for the size of the space.
That way we can actually really do a wedding.
Yeah.
We could do a plated wedding.
Yeah.
At our,
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
a lot of event spaces is very difficult unless the caterer can come with their
Yeah.
own staging area.
Yeah,
Essentially.
yeah,
like-
for sure.
yeah.
How many people does the space hold?
So
yeah, let's hear more about the space. Yeah.
So we're building a beer hall.
Mm-hmm.
It's above the current tap room, but it extends to the entire back of the building.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole space is like 8,000 something square feet.
Holy
That's
shit.
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, but then we took out room for the bathrooms and the
Yeah.
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 and there's a large stage because primarily we want to see it as a concert hall.
Mm-hmm.
We've had numbers tweak it back and forth with the city because of changes that have been made on the fly.
Yeah.
So we don't have our COO in hand yet, but it should be close to 600 people standing.
Sweet.
With no tables and chairs.
Yeah.
I think the last I heard from my architect after we had to add the stage to the diagram and stuff was close to 200 seated for like a wedding.
Nice. Okay.
Nice.
That would be with like tables in every corner of the room,
Yeah,
like no room
yeah.
for. So probably let's say 150. Yeah. So
Comfortably, yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome. But so we were talking a little bit beforehand that you were saying, and you just mentioned it now, that you mostly want it to be a concert hall.
yeah.
Just because there's not really a lot like that in the
Right,
area
we're,
for that many people.
Yeah, so it will fill a niche that Syracuse doesn't really have. There's
Yeah.
a lot of bands, like even nationally touring bands, who skip over Syracuse because there isn't a good
Yeah.
venue like this. There's larger venues, there's a few smaller venues.
Yeah.
And we've had a ton of interest from bands just because they've heard about it through,
Sweet.
Where would be the nearest one that would? Rochester's got to have.
Rochester
something.
has stuff. Trying to think, does Ithaca have?
I would think
There's
It's
that Homer, that thing is,
Cortland has.
Cortland
has one. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually the guy doing
They do country music, big country music fest down there once a year. I don't know if they still do it.
Where?
Pre-COVID, Cortland.
oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, not Syracuse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it opens up the door for that. And there is the Westcott Theater. That's a little different though.
It's not the same thing. Yeah, you're sitting, right? You're not
No, the Westcott Theater is
it's
standing,
standing.
but it's on an incline in there. So I don't know. They tend to get a lot of like EDM music nowadays, and
How many do they hold though?
Probably around 600. Yeah.
Oh, they do.
I think so.
Oh, okay. Oops. I thought for some reason.
Landmark,
But maybe
they do
I'm-
shows
Which
there.
is bigger, yeah.
That's way bigger. I
I
would
saw
say.
John Prine there. Fucking bucket list. What a great show. Probably, you guys probably don't even know who John Prine is, right?
No, I don't.
Oh my God, millennials, fucking millennials. But it was a bucket list concert. But
Well, that's cool. That's exciting.
Yeah.
how long's this project? When did it?
So it's been in talks for years. The space, so we rent. We don't own the building. The space above us.
Good landlord or
Now we have a good landlord.
who's the?
It's the Lochnick Group, Joe Gem and Mike Dunk.
Oh, those guys.
They specialize in finding historic buildings that would be eligible to be on the National Historic Registry, and then they're able to get grants and tax incentives to improve the building.
That's awesome.
Which people always ask, why didn't you ever buy the building?
Yeah.
And that's the main reason why the building needs. We only occupy. Oh, at the time, now we occupy a little bit more, probably close to half. But at the time, we only occupied about a third of the building. There were also other tenants, and the building needed and still needs over $1 million. Worth of
Yeah,
repairs,
yeah.
of space that's unoccupied. So we're not developers, and we never, didn't know anything about it. We wouldn't have known to even think to get the building on the National Historic
Yeah,
Registry
yeah,
or anything.
yeah. Do what you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't fuck me.
we had the right of first refusal to buy the building in our lease, and we didn't. We said, hey, well, how about we'll just sign another long lease?
Yeah.
And then their plan originally, we had always seen the space and always known it would be a really cool music venue.
Yeah.
It was filled with junk, but just the space itself I don't know if you've seen pictures, but
No,
it's
I've seen pictures that you've shared.
yeah,
Facebook page,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
Like
it's,
the renovation one.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really magnificent space. So it's always been talked about. And then our landlords bought the building before COVID. What the original plan was, they actually had some tenants lined up for high-end office space. And the idea was that it was just a stone's throw away from Armory Square,
Yeah.
but we can offer you rent at half the price or,
Yeah,
what-
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But still beautiful place, and you're literally a block away from Armory Square. Then COVID happened, and nobody was interested in high-end office space anymore.
And still, everyone works remote now.
Yeah. If anything, people are looking for less office space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they explored a couple other ideas. They came at, we had briefly talked about more space with them before and how the space above us was cool, but the numbers were so far apart that the conversation didn't really ever get off the ground. So that kind of inspired them to come back to us. And then after, a little bit of negotiation, we reached an agreement, signed another lease, extended our lease again. So we're going to be there through 2035.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah. And yeah, I think
so it's got to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No,
we know.
it
I
has
think
to
we.
now,
I don't know. I don't really have a choice at this
Yeah.
point. I'm all in.
They're all in,
so,
yeah, shit.
Yeah. No. But it just, and we've always been really conservative with growth and expansion and debt.
When you say we, are your
My
parents
parents.
still, still involved?
My
or-
mom.
I was gonna say,
my
what's
mom
your-
passed. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
My mom passed away 6 years ago.
Okay.
And my dad is still involved, but he calls himself half retired.
Yeah. How old a gentleman?
My dad is 67.
Yep.
And so I basically run the business, and he's involved in any major decisions. I call him sometimes. He says I do it to make him feel better.
He still lives locally here? Or?
Yes,
Yeah.
most of the time.
He
Yeah.
comes in. He comes in here frequently. I
You
think.
see him in there having a beer once in a while still? Does he
Sometimes.
still enjoy the...
He kind of became a homebody when COVID happened. He has COPD, and
Yeah, that's challenging. Yeah.
yeah, so especially for the first, year and a half,
Yeah,
2 years,
yeah.
Yeah.
he hardly left the house.
Yeah.
And again, now that he's retired, he's traveling a little bit more. He just
Good.
got back from a trip from Florida, so
Nice.
he's enjoying himself. So
Now, how you
Good.
guys have
He deserves
always
it.
been, like the brew side I know, but you've always been the music side too.
not really.
Really? Well, how long is the music fest? We go to that. every year.
Yeah, the anniversary party.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing we've been doing that for 18 years.
That is cool as hell.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's the
gosh.
coolest thing
That's
we do.
amazing.
Yeah.
The anniversary party we do outside in the park, Leavenworth Park.
Yeah.
We also started doing these things called loading dock shows.
Yeah, that's where we started going. Yeah.
Which happened. That was one of my customers' ideas because obviously we stopped indoor music during COVID, and he's like, "Well, how about you just throw a band in the loading dock, and people can sit outside in the picnic tables we have out there?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll try it." Why not?
Yeah.
We'll try anything right now. So we did it,
Yeah.
and it was unbelievably successful
Yeah.
to the fact where people were crossing the street and going to the park and drinking over there. And I'm like, oh, I can't do this. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is bad. I can't let this happen. So I reached out to the city, and I'm like, is there any way we can get like a park permit for these weekend shows? And we can let people, and they're like, well, this is the first, this is the first summer of COVID.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we're not issuing public assembly permits right now. And I'm like, okay, so no, I can't do it. And then they're like, no, just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
think they
like-
were pretty, the Ben Walsh and Ryan, and
I'm
people
like,
were
wait,
pretty
just
cool.
do it
yeah.
without any permits?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, just do it without any permits.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, we can't close the road because without any permits.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I'm just gonna have people walking with open containers across the road? And they're like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Whatever.
I'm
yeah.
like, okay. Like,
Yeah. I feel like that first summer, they were just like, we don't want you to
close.
close.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
do what you got to do.
No, the city was great.
Yeah.
And then the next year, we're like, okay, now you got to get permits.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So we still do it. We'll see how it goes with having the new venue.
Now,
At least now we
just nights, just weekends. When are going to be?
It's probably just got to be booked.
we'll see. So a lot of once we start to get national acts, a lot of them will hit a city like us on an off day.
Right.
So
like on Thursday or
yeah,
something.
so
Wednesday,
there will be a gap stop between two bigger venues.
Right.
But right now we're booking mostly local bands, a lot of cover acts, and those are all mostly Saturdays, Fridays. But we're willing to book it any day if it's something that will work.
But I would imagine it's mostly weekends. You're not, like Tuesday night, I'm not going to be able to go find.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right now we do our trivia in our tap room on Tuesday
Yeah.
night. We might that generally is fully reserved. We reserve tables for it.
That's huge right now. Trivia in any bar right now is huge.
Yeah. So we might move that upstairs.
Oh, cool. You can get more people.
Yeah, and then I'll put out a bunch of
Parking, I'm trying to remember. Is parking?
Parking is tough, but no more tough than anywhere else in Syracuse.
Yeah.
It's actually not bad at all. People who are not used to going into the city sometimes are like, "Where do I park?"
Yeah, yeah.
But there's tons of parking
Yeah.
off the street. We do have a back lot that is going to be renovated, but that's only helpful for us in the case of like a private event.
Right.
I can't because that's not our main entrance. There is a way to get in, but I can't be letting just random people wander around back there who are just regular customers. So
Yeah.
for a wedding or something, or any other kind of private event, I get people park back there, come up through the back door.
Yeah.
Do you have any weddings booked there yet?
We have a couple holds.
Okay.
So they're not. We're kind of like let us get open so you can see the place.
Yeah.
But the date is held.
Oh,
No
nice.
deposits
Okay.
paid yet. But once we get all our things buttoned up,
Mm-hmm.
then we'll take a deposit and we'll make it official.
With
Cool.
being in business that long, you got some real loyalty to people there.
We
I'm
do.
sure there's people that generation is like, I fucking love Middle Ages and I want to get married there.
Yes,
That's
we
what, you know,
have like 2
yeah.
couples already that like they grew up either as young adults or even as kids. Their parents would bring them into the tasting room where their mom or dad would always have a 6-pack in the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
So and they really want to do it. So
That's awesome.
That's kind of cool.
That says, I think, a lot about the brand or about
Yeah,
the place and you guys. That's awesome. So obviously this is the next big project that you guys are doing. Do you have any other like big plans that you want to do, or you said that you're more conservative about growth?
yeah, we've always been very concerned. I want to see how this goes
Yeah,
before, before we do anything else. I mean, at one point there was tentative discussion about looking for a second location out of the area.
Yeah.
That was my next question. Do you branch out? Do you go to Rochester? Do you go to,
I mean,
you know?
I'm not going to say no. I mean, that was never even really, really seriously talked about, but it would be like a satellite tap room.
Yeah.
But
So satellite tap room, you don't brew anything there. You just bring
yeah,
your
we would
and
just bring our,
serve.
yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've always liked the Finger Lakes region. I've always liked the St.
Oh,
Lawrence
yeah.
region. It could be something seasonal.
Good thing about the Finger Lakes, it's weird how, like, when you say local craft, people are all about it. Local
Right.
craft. People want to buy a local craft beer. If you're in Nashville or you're in Providence, Rhode Island, I want to drink their beer, right?
Yeah.
Do I want to have a Syracuse beer? Yeah, it'd be kind of cool, but I want to drink their local beer.
That's what I do when I'm on the tap
Yeah,
room.
yeah, same here. We try to go and check that out. Well, or I'll try to get like a PBR or a Hams in a 16-ounce can or some off beer, Schaefer.
Yeah.
The one beer to have when you're having more than one, if they have it. But wineries in Finger Lakes, you're drinking the wine in the Finger Lakes. People go there to drink the local wine. Once you step out of the Finger Lakes, you come here, there is no New York State wine. People just don't drink it.
Wait, that's
It's
so
crazy.
interesting that you say that though, because I don't think I would say that the Finger Lakes is local.
It's local
here?
in the Finger Lakes.
To here. Like, I wouldn't be like,
But New York State is. Do you carry a New York State wine?
I do.
What do you carry?
Yeah. I have
Dr.
Frank.
Dr.
Yeah.
Frank. Of course you do.
That's
everybody has Dr. Frank.
But I guess I would
There's a
say
lot
it's
of really
New
good
York-
local wine, but it doesn't sell. The reason you don't have it is because it doesn't sell.
So interestingly enough, we talked about liquor licenses. We're adding on the farm brewery liquor license, and which just requires us to we're gonna have both. So we'll have both. We have a regular manufacturing license, and then we have the farm manufacturing license, and that's what the route most people take nowadays.
And what's the difference?
The biggest, so the difference from what we have to do standpoint is I just have to make 50 barrels of beer a year that uses local ingredients, which
Okay.
for me is very two
Yeah,
batches
I was
of
gonna
beer
say,
for
yeah.
me is
Yeah.
50 barrels. So we do that already anyways, just because we do local, beer's local ingredients sometimes. But the biggest advantage to me, at least for me right now, is that I get to carry New York State wine and liquor.
Oh, cool.
So for me, if I wanted to add on a full liquor license, I'd have to open a kitchen and have a full menu and
yeah.
submit the menu to SLA, and you're supposed to have food almost all the time when you're open,
Yep.
so I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So the easiest thing for me to get is to add on the farm license, and that way I can have liquor and wine for people at shows that don't want to drink beer.
I was gonna say, so
Oh,
it'll be
that's
primarily
big.
for your shows.
Yeah. So, so I'll probably be selling a lot of New York State wine.
Yeah.
because
people
that's what I'm allowed to carry.
Yeah. And
I
people-
personally think that New York State has
Yeah.
good wine, but it does not sell for us. California wine sells the
Yeah,
best.
it's
But
weird.
At my place, people won't have a choice. So.
Yeah, so they have to.
I mean, there's great selections
Right.
for
Yeah.
options, like a nice variety too. So I think it'll do really well.
My wife's roommate from college, her and her husband owned, or did, he just retired the end of December, but they owned Heron Hill. It's a
Oh, okay.
beautiful
Oh
place.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Beautiful
They
place,
got good
great
wines
job,
too.
great
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah. But
He gets mad. I'm not a wine guy. If you're a beer guy, are you a wine guy also?
Not
or-
typically. There are some of them out there, but
I drink Moscato.
are you
It's gotta
strictly
have like
beer? You're a
30%.
beer guy.
No, I like all alcohol. It's
But if you're going out to dinner or going out for drinks, it's beer.
generally I am on a diet right now, so
Oh,
if
okay.
some vodka soda I might have
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
or a seltzer, but
Where's your favorite restaurant? If you're going out to eat, family, wife, kids.
I have a wife and a stepson.
Yep.
I don't know. That's tough. I mean, like
If you and the wife are going to date night is different than the family going.
I was mind blown when we went to St. Urban.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
Yeah,
It's so good.
But
it's
oh
so
my,
expensive.
super expensive,
Yeah.
and they don't have really have beer, which is.
Yeah.
And I'm not. Actually, we did one of the wine tasting there, and the sommeliers explaining everything to us. And normally, I think that's kind of like
Yeah.
they're kind of full of themselves. And
Yeah.
But I was like I'm like, oh my god, like you're making me enjoy this wine more. So
Yeah.
that was
They
like.
do a good, I've never
I
been
think-
there, but I've been to FX in Geneva. They same
Oh,
idea. Yeah, they same idea.
I haven't been there, but
Yeah.
You gotta go. You gotta go to St. Urban.
I'll go.
I
Tell us,
totally.
you and
yeah.
Pat.
Oh yeah.
Be a great place to get on his knee and
Oh,
get
fuck.
engaged. They're not engaged yet, so I have to make sure I bring that up.
I do agree though, because I think when they explain it to you and the flavors and
Yeah.
everything, it just enhances the whole.
But it's like,
experience.
don't you get like a
No.
fig leaf with a berry on it, and that's like a
No.
you know,
I mean, they're smaller
they're small
portions.
portions.
Yeah.
But, and like you said, it's expensive, but
Yeah.
it didn't feel like a place that belonged in Syracuse.
yeah. Oh yeah, I
It
believe
was
that. I
like
believe that.
it was
yeah.
like
Yeah.
it was like walking into a place and like all of a sudden you're transported to like New York City. Or
Well,
something.
FX
Yeah.
was cool because they booked. I think they only hold 24 people. This was a couple years ago. I went with Eric Frary from Heron Hill, and we didn't know everybody there. We only had our group, but there was another group there. So while that kind of setting's going on, you're meeting everybody else
Mm-hmm.
and you're talking to them. So it was really cool. What if you take the family out?
Yeah. How old's your stepson?
He is 13.
Tough age to be today. Holy shit.
He's great.
What school?
He goes to West Jenny, so Camillus Middle.
Yeah, nice.
Do you guys like West Jenny?
We love it. Yeah.
Okay. My son's 4, and so he's in West Jenny. I just registered him for kindergarten for next
We
year.
used to live like in the city of Syracuse, and not that he had great teachers there.
Mm-hmm.
He also had some okay teachers. Tough environment, I'm kind of glad that he got to experience it for a little bit.
Yeah.
But one of the best things we did, especially he has ADHD, and it's much easier for him to focus at West Jenny than
Okay.
in the city of Syracuse. So it was a great change for
good.
him.
But I like what you said. It gives them, especially today with kids, if they have any kind of privilege at all, it's nice for them to see that not every kid has the advantages that they have.
Right. He
And
got
it's
to
good
see
to
how
see that.
he got
Yeah.
to see how how he knows how he grows up, but he got to see, and he knows how most of the kids in West Jenny district grow
Yeah.
up, but he got to see kind of the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was a bad thing for him to
Yeah.
have a couple years there.
So if you guys are going out for a family night, where do you go?
He likes Red Robin a lot.
Okay.
Trying to think, he doesn't like to go out all that. He likes Wildcat.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Danny does a good job
Yeah,
over there.
but then I mean, if he gets to choose a restaurant, it's probably McDonald's. So.
Yeah, that
it's-
makes sense. Yeah, that's,
If we make him go out somewhere, then we let him choose. Then
It's
then-
McDonald's.
or no, like if we want to go out and not just
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like to eat McDonald's, but
Yeah.
then Red Robin's a big one, or Wildcat. Those are
Yeah.
two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We
my son lived on I only work with independent restaurants. I don't have anything against chain restaurants. Chain restaurants do a great job. They give back to the community as well. I got a buddy who's district manager at Buffalo Wild Wings, and they do great things for the community. But I work with independents ever since my son's 29 now. But ever since he was a kid, we'd play basketball or do something, and we'd get done winning a game. I coached his AAU team, and we'd get done with the kids in the car, and they'd be like, "We won, coach. We got to go get pizza. Where are we going?" And once we go, "Pizza Hut." And I'd go, "Zach," he was like 11. He'd go, "We can't go to Pizza Hut because Pizza Hut is a chain restaurant. We have to go to an independent restaurant." So he would go to Camiso's. My buddy owned a pizza shop, or he just lived on Tully's. All in
my son
college,
likes
Tully's.
Yeah.
Tully's tenders all the time.
Hopspot downtown is good. Because they have like a little area. Well, because he's younger.
They
so
got great poutine, believe it or
yeah,
not.
their food
Oh
is
my
good
God.
too.
it's
But I'm
really
like,
good.
it's nice. So we had went with another couple very recently, and both our kids are like 4, and there was just like this nice little area. So my boyfriend was like over there just like watching the kids, and we were hanging out and so I'm like, oh, that's really nice.
They seem to be doing really well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They
they
do
just
good.
opened that cocktail bar right behind.
and then
yeah.
they're putting something in the Old Empire too.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
that's
they
right.
are?
Yeah.
It's
don't shit.
like a fried chicken and bourbon joint.
No shit.
Oh,
Oh, I
that's
did
right.
see that. Yeah, yeah.
But is that location? I feel like they have that concept somewhere else too, or maybe I'm wrong.
They're
they
from
have-
Canada. Ryan and Cheryl Schaaf, CHAIF. They live in Canada.
So maybe they. I
So
don't
they
know.
have
place
another
in
hop spot in
Saratoga or
Clayton.
Second Harbor, Clayton.
Yeah.
And then I think the one that was in Sackett's Harbor is like what you said. I think they switched it to
Yeah.
the fried chicken and bourbon combo.
Okay.
They used to have a
The
location
Hen
in the
House
mall.
or something like that.
In the Watertown Mall, they used to have a location as
That's
well.
awesome. Good for them. I'm happy that it's I love when I see local businesses in the area like expanding and doing more. I think it like
Yeah.
with you
It's
guys
nice to
in
see
the-
it in Armory
yeah,
Square too, because I feel like
Yeah.
it's been trending.
way
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you had Empire closed. I think that was the start of it, and then
Then he was not the good owner, but Dave, I'm not a Dave fan,
Oh.
but yeah, a lot of people aren't. But I think what the other challenge down there is there's a lot of great places, and you open up. We had this conversation before with Adam and with John Page and with David and Karen at Possibilities and all of them is. All of a sudden, there's a crime. Somebody goes down there, and there's a shooting or a stabbing, whatever, and people feel like, oh my God, I can't go to Armory because it's not safe. It's an isolated incident, but for whatever reason, that happens down there, and people want to go anymore.
yeah, and it's usually at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
When people aren't normally, when
know, so
I would
it's-
never
it
be. I
becomes
mean, I used to be, but not anymore. I'm home by 10 o'clock. But
So is he next generation?
who?
Your son?
Oh,
Middle ages?
as of right now, he has no interest.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this is funny enough. When he was in kindergarten, his mom got a call from the kindergarten teachers. For kindergarten graduation, they put on, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And they asked him, or he said he wanted to make beer.
Yeah.
'Cause
In
at-
kindergarten, that's pretty
At
good.
the time, I would homebrew a little bit too, just to
Oh, yeah.
as kind of an experimental thing and do different stuff.
Did
so
they
he-
know he was your son, or did they just?
Yes, 'cause he
holy
talked
shit,
about
yeah.
the brewery.
Okay,
Like-
that's good. He didn't just some random
yeah,
kid
no,
going,
no.
My dad grows pot. I want to make whatever.
Yeah, no,
but-
at the time, he would talk about the brewery, and some of his teachers actually came to the brewery.
nice.
That was Fraser, which is like a few blocks away
Yeah.
from where the brewery is.
oh yeah.
So they called him, and they're like, "Is it okay if he puts that?" And she's like, "I don't know. You tell me. Is it okay?" And they're like, "Yeah, we already got it approved by the principal."
Oh my gosh, that's
And
pretty
so
cool.
we're like, "Yeah, do it." And we're there, and we're sitting in the graduation, and he was the only kid who got like a huge applause, and laughter.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's next generation ownership a lot now. People, it's too hard to
It's
run a business.
rarer than it used to be.
And but I think it's a great job. Like you said, growing up, you learned how to work, you learned how to make money. I'm sure your parents were not like giving you the farm, they were making you work.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't just get to have the primo cool job. You were doing hard shit.
Oh, I mean, both my parents worked their ass off. It's tough business. I
So
mean,
it's
Yeah.
great to make money. You have a job, which is cool. But then you see how hard your parents work or what their life is like.
no,
I
sometimes they
think,
wanted
yeah,
to kill each other.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how
They-
couples can work together
they
side by
were
side every day.
surprisingly amazing at leaving at work.
Really?
So they struggled for a long time for the first few years, and I was really young, so I didn't see it.
Yeah.
But they talked about going out of business a few different times, and but they didn't bring it home, and they were always there for me and my sister.
That's cool.
I was looking back, I'm very impressed at what they did.
Yeah.
I just don't see the same kind of drive for success in people today. That generation today people want to be. I want to have my own. I want to be a TikToker.
He wants to be a Twitch
influencer.
streamer. That's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That's his goal. Is to be
Because
a
they don't want to work for somebody else, but they don't want the commitment to work 7 days a week for their
Well,
own business.
I mean, don't be pushing next generation. Well, we're still young here.
yeah, okay.
Like, we got still a whole generation
Yeah,
to go.
yeah.
But
That's why I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Well, because there's a lot of restaurant owners that are closer to my age,
Right.
and they don't have an exit plan. The exit plan is not the next generation. The exit plan is sell, and that's what a lot of places have done.
And that's really tough to do.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Today.
I think
people don't want to pay for the, if you remember Pier 57 back in the day in Liverpool.
yeah.
So Bill Ennis, good friend, I've known him forever. He gets ready to sell the property, and believe it or not, when you have a large brick and mortar like that, and it isn't going to be a restaurant, if you think back and really think, and what do big restaurants of that turn into? What's a good business for them to be if they're not a restaurant? And you know what? The first three offers he had,
parking lot. Oh,
funeral home. Big
Oh.
footprint, big parking lot, great place for a funeral home. Which is kind of sad. You're taking a vibrant restaurant and turning it into a thing for dead, you know?
Well, it's
But
all about
they
how you
don't-
look at it. They're turning it into a place where you celebrate life.
Yes, but here's the challenge. They're buying the dirt. So say the dirt there is worth $500,000. Well, the business is worth $1 million or $1.5 million, but they're not paying for the restaurant piece. So that's what a lot of these restaurant owners are challenged with is the dirt is worth something if they own it, but not if it's going to stay a restaurant.
No, well, I find a lot of the challenges too that, it's worth a certain amount on paper. You got an analyst who comes in and tells you that, but then they discount the fact that they're an owner operator.
Right.
That who's invested, maybe they're not working 60 hours a week anymore, but they built it, and without them being there, a lot of the value goes away.
It's not Middle Ages. I can't go in and buy Middle Ages because I'd have to buy you.
Right. And without me or my dad or it's, you lose a lot of value.
Yeah.
So to sell it and wipe your hands of it, all of a sudden you're looking at,
Yeah, it's not the
where
same.
does the buyer see the value if they're not getting you?
Yeah, the brasserie isn't the brasserie without Nora and Hannah. So her mom and her sister, it just doesn't.
Well, I do think too, like, I think if I was to go in, and let's say one that I would consider buying if it was up for sale would be Kitty Hoynes, just because I love I love it. It's one of my favorite places, but you can't operate it like David operates
No,
it.
it's not Kitty Hoynes without Dave.
So I don't want to
No.
buy Kitty Hoynes.
Yeah.
So
Like,
again,
you
it
know-
makes it a really tough exit. Even
Yeah.
selling is really. I mean,
Yeah.
I know.
And his
restaurant-
kids don't want it.
And I know of restaurant owners who've been wanting to sell for a long time, and I know of many who tried to, and then, like the Mission, Steve. I used to be.
Yeah,
really friendly
Steve's
with
a
him.
great guy. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, super
And
good guy.
He was trying to sell the place for a while,
Yeah.
and again, it's just without Steve,
It's not that well, clearly because Ryan bought it and it lasted a couple of months, right?
right? And
What was that called?
Oh God, I can't remember what he called
Luna
it.
Loca.
Yeah,
Luna
that was
Loca,
it.
yeah.
There was when a bunch of Luna restaurants opened all at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
everything
yeah,
was
yeah.
Luna.
There was
Luna
like
Cafe
four of
involved
them.
in
Yeah.
Brewerton, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that.
And
I
it's a
think
shame,
going in
isn't
and
it?
opening.
To see somebody like Steve who was super successful, busted his ass, build a brand, he wants to get out of there with some kind of
But something.
something for the work he put in,
Yeah.
and what are you worth? If so, David leases the building at Kitty Hoynes. He has all that stuff in there.
Does he lease it?
He's leases. He doesn't own it. He has a lease there, and long-term lease. And I don't think he's going anywhere. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you get done, you go, well, how much did that chair cost new? Maybe that chair was $150. Well, I got $150 there, 150. That table's worth $200, so right there is worth $600. No, man. It's,
all
Chuck Kamar's
depreciated,
coming
yeah.
in and giving you $2 for each chair and $4 for the table. That's what it's
Yeah.
worth. So
other-
what do you leave with?
But I think it's okay to leave with just having the time that you've had there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're coming up in a couple of years, it'll be 10 years that we're here, and
10 years, that's
our
crazy.
lease is over. So the discussion that we're having is what we want to do after that. If the brasserie, if we want to continue doing the brasserie, and I think it's okay to reasonably be like, maybe we don't. Like, maybe this was just a temporary thing that we
Start
did.
talking about it now.
Yeah.
But there's places like Shifty's when Ron and Jason bought it.
Right,
It was
that-
still Shifty's.
I think that's
Yeah.
had a few different owners.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
But that place been around since the 60s.
Well, the
or whatever.
original guy had it, sold it to Ron and Jason, and then Ron bought Jason out. Now it's
Right.
just Ron and Sheena and
Mm-hmm.
Vicky.
Yeah.
So, and Jason has Now and Later.
Yep.
He does a great job over there. That's a
does.
cool ass place.
Mm-hmm.
He's opening a second location,
He tried to have that the first time, and he got kind of
and now he's doing it again.
nice.
Same spot.
Really, and they're gonna.
They've. I just saw him the other day at Dinosaur Barbecue, and it's
Sharp guy. I love what he does over
Good.
there.
Good for him.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
All
So
right.
yeah. So make sure you let us know when you get open and what's
March
going on.
24th.
I know.
24th.
I gotta. We're Pat and I are taking my parents because
Yeah.
it's Dark Hollow, right?
Yeah,
Both nights.
Dark
yeah.
Oh,
Hollow.
Dark
both nights.
Hollow's huge.
Yeah.
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 Huge.
They're
Jason
fun.
Thomas that owns Arid Evans is a big fan of them. He follows them around.
Is it Deadhead? Right.
Yes, yes. Is
that what they are?
So,
Yeah.
yeah. I've never seen them. I saw them as a two-piece. Don't they do a two-piece?
They do Dark Hollow Duo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw them.
They were at the anniversary party this year,
They've
right?
headlined it for the past bunch of years.
You were at the anniversary party.
So
I was loaded on,
Oh, yeah,
on
me
sour
too.
beer.
Me too. I bought a bunch of
And
Dark
it was like
Hollow
a-
shirts and don't remember.
It was 150 degrees
Oh,
out
it was
there. I
terrible.
was sweating.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
sweat. I had bad sweat. So.
That was fun though. That was a good day.
always is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other question I was going to ask, I asked Kevin and Rockney at Willow Rock are great guys, and Tim at Buried Acorn, and all there's a lot of good local breweries here. David at Full Bore. Is there a community like the food truck guys? There's a wicked food truck community. They all work together. There never really used to be kind of a restaurant community. Hopefully during COVID we've been able to do that, or I've been able to help do that. Is there a community of brewers? Do you
Yes,
guys?
and it's always been that way. Even before this new explosion of breweries, like back, I remember my dad would drag me into a brewery in Great Lakes Brewing, big brewery in Cleveland. He was looking to buy a new keg washer back in, when I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
He just walks in the back door and is like, I heard you guys have this kind of keg washer. Can I see it? And they're like, yeah, come over. And we're like,
Oh, it's just
so-
kind of cool, laid back kind of.
it's always been, people are very helpful. Rockney from Willow Rock and Tim from Buried Acorn and me, we're talking about splitting a truckload of cans right now.
Oh, nice,
So
cool.
It's always very collaborative, very helpful. I mean, people borrow stuff. I borrow stuff. People borrow stuff from me all the
See,
time.
that's cool. That makes it,
Yeah, we
that-
wash Heritage Hills kegs for them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
it's-
Do you do collabs with anybody?
We
or-
do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we
okay.
don't do them all the time.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah.
They're kind of a pain.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It's when you got a million other things going on.
Yeah,
it's
for
like,
sure.
yeah.
For sure.
But no, we've done probably a dozen throughout
Yeah.
the years. So.
Cool.
I think that's cool that the brewery that
Me
they
too.
get along and that they know each other. We didn't have that, but pre-COVID, it was
restaurants,
For
you mean?
restaurants, just it was
Yeah.
crazy to me because I'm friends with Dan at Heritage Hill and David at Kitty Hoynes and Maria at Sant'Angelo's and Michelle at the Brasserie. And how do they not all know each other? It's crazy that they didn't know each other before. So we kind of built this out that they kind of know each other now. And if it's an off day, Maria's coming, bringing her family here, and Michelle's going to here, and David's going to Heritage Hill, and it was just kind of cool to see that happening. So, we ask a bunch of weird questions at the end. So,
Okay.
so
I don't think your questions are weird. Mine's a
yours
good
are
one.
weird. So, did you ever have a nickname as a kid that you liked or didn't like that you got, and did it go into when you were an adult, or do you have a nickname now that somebody gave you? When you were a kid, did you have a nickname?
So actually, Tim Butler, who used to be the brewer at Empire, he worked for us when I was a kid. He started calling me I-Man. And
I mean, because of Isaac.
I-Man, yeah. And some of the people who are still there from there still call me that to this
I-Man.
day. Yeah.
It's weird how a nickname comes out.
But that's really the only nickname that I can think of that I've ever had.
I-Man.
Yeah.
Nothing with Isaac because that's a different kind of first name. They didn't shorten it up or
I guess it was unique enough. Oh, I mean, I've had a couple people call me Ike before, but
like
nothing that ever stuck.
I-Man.
Stuck,
That's kind of
yeah.
a cool nickname.
I think people call my son's name is Elijah,
Okay.
and I think they sometimes call him Isaac. Like that, like it, that it's
That's weird, but I can see it happening.
yeah, that people that they're just unique enough that people like think that they're the same.
But we shorten, I play a lot of basketball, so I have a buddy named Eric, we call him E. Tom, we call D, or T. and
Tom,
Jeff
we call
D.
D.
Yeah, Tom's a D, but, Johnny Walters is JW. It's just how you want one syllable,
Yeah, no, I never really had anything.
Yeah.
kind of nicknames. And the other one is, what's your favorite movie?
That's a tough question. I like movies a lot. I'm gonna go with The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, great,
All right,
classic, yeah. They were talking about that at the Oscars last night with Morgan Freeman. One
I
of the
didn't watch
greatest
that.
movies. There was,
Yeah, I don't watch Oscars.
yeah, I
watched-
fast forwarded through everything. I just wanted to see if Brandon Fraser won for
For-
Best Actor, and he did, which was kind of cool.
What was it? What's the?
The Whale.
Oh, the whale.
So
the whale. I got to see that still.
yeah, so we're sitting home watching TV last night, and then Kim's like, "Hey, we're gonna watch something." Yeah, we'll find a show to watch. We ended up watching. You want to watch some weird ass shit? Watch the Murtaugh murders.
Oh, I just
That is
watched that.
fucked up, man. What a fucked up.
Do you know what else I watched?
That's
Is-
crazy.
That was the
family.
lawyer, right?
That,
Yeah.
His
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
family.
The
They've
whole
been
fa-
killing
there's like
people
a-
for 15
Yeah, okay.
years.
There's like
man.
a million murders. No, but we watched The Last of Us.
That's supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah,
too.
you got to watch it. The
So I
finale
asked
was
Kim
last
to
night.
watch The Whale. She's $20. No, I'm like, you're not gonna spend $20. We would go out tonight and spend more than that going to the movies.
You have to pay. What do you mean? It's on
Because
like
you have to
HBO
buy it
or-
on
oh.
Amazon for $20. You didn't want to do it. Stupid.
I went and saw the new Avatar in 4D.
Is that good or
It was good. 4D was too intense for too long of a movie.
it's like 3 hours, right?
It's like 3 hours, and your seats are moving around, and it's like
Oh,
in
wow.
4D the smells that come out, and they like spray water in your face. and-
Oh,
Interesting.
that's too
I,
much.
I think
I've never done that before.
yeah, I think
but
I
that
would have
was too
enjoyed the
long.
movie much more at home than
I haven't seen
in a
that yet.
theater that's kicking you around for 4 hours.
Okay, and then my last question is, if people are to take away one thing about you from this podcast, what would you like it to be?
Oh, geez, I don't know. That's a tough question.
I know, but
That that I really, value all of our customers, and that it makes me unbelievably happy and proud when I see people enjoy what we provide, whether it's the beer
That's
or the
awesome.
experience, or just it's as a small business owner, that's what makes me go on
Yeah.
is seeing people truly enjoy what you do. So
cool.
That's pretty cool. That's a good question. When you go out and you're not always geared up.
I usually am, but
You really are?
yeah.
So do people instantly know that you're Middle Ages?
I tend to try not make a big deal out of it.
Do you get people coming up and they see, oh my God, I love your place?
Sometimes,
That's
yeah.
a cool feeling.
It
That's
is
beyond
cool,
a paycheck,
Yeah.
man.
My favorite is when you're sitting at the bar somewhere, sitting at a table, and somebody doesn't know who you are, and they order your beer at another table, or
that's
that's
cool.
my favorite. Yeah.
You ever have somebody go, I had a person once, I was sitting at a bar with my buddies, and we owned a bar down the street in Cicero at the time, and these guys down there in the bar started talking about Buds. Like from Cafe was the name of the place, and they're like, yeah, that guy's a fucking asshole. And I'm like, really? Yeah, he's a fucking jerk, man. We used to go there, but we don't go there anymore. And my buddy's like, you ever meet the guy? He goes, yeah, I know exactly what he looks like. He goes, well, that's him right there. Like, that's pretty funny. When they don't know who you are, if they're ragging your business out, and then
Yeah,
you're
they
sitting
don't
right
know
next to them, that's pretty funny too.
One time, I had a similar thing happen. Actually, they were talking about my dad, and the guy was like, yeah, that guy's an asshole, referring to my dad.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's my dad. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. He's like, I really just said that because he wouldn't buy shirts from us.
Oh my God,
I'm
what
like-
a stupid reason to be mad. To
He
call
was like,
somebody an
he
asshole.
owned an embroidery company, and he pitched it to my dad, and my dad was like, no.
Yeah.
So now
They're
you're
like,
now
no,
he's
and
an
I don't want
asshole.
to talk to you anymore. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, that guy's an ass.
Yeah. About how many people probably came up to your dad and he could have had to do
can't say yes
to
you can't
everybody.
say yes to everybody all the time. People probably pitch. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
soliciting. It's
It's crazy.
Brutal.
yeah.
And then they get mad if you don't do it. But I'm like, there's 15 other companies that just came in and pitched me the same exact thing.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
But it is pretty cool to know that when you're out and about that somebody values your brand or they love. I mean, George
is.
and Jane, our friends George and Jane Tardik, they come up here every year. They live in Poughkeepsie now. They come up just to go to the event.
That's
Stay at our house.
Yeah.
Come to the to celebrate because it's a good time.
It's a great time. That happened by accident. It's one of the coolest things we do.
Yeah.
It's-
Oh my gosh.
we had no idea it was going to turn into what it turned into.
I mean, how many? Thousands.
4,000 on a
Jesus,
good
wow.
a good year.
Good 110-degree day and
Oh,
it's better
the
than 4,000.
heat killed us this past year.
Yeah.
People
It
can't-
was so hot.
I think
There was still a lot of people there, though.
yeah, but I think we sold more water than we did beer.
Yeah.
All right,
Awesome.
cool. Well,
That was so
thank you.
cool, Isaac.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
thank
much.
you guys. It was nice being here.